Hi, welcome along. It's been way too long since I've done a lesson, so I better do something about that. Okay, so today I want to talk about how to arrange a chord, or the way you play chords, in order to get an effect that sounds like water flowing. And to give you a concept of what I mean, this sort of thing would be an idea. Okay, so that we can get nice flowing effects, as opposed to just playing through. So it takes a little bit of consideration of what notes you're going to choose, but basically the premise here is that you're going to ascend and descend without, so as you ascend your notes will always get higher, as you descend they will always get lower. You won't be jumping around, higher, lower, as you would be if you just played straight through some of these things. Now I want to use a framework like E7 blues as an example template. Now for this particular example I want to pick on a shape that is fairly common, I would say, and it looks like this on the guitar. So let me say the standard shape would be let's say it's on the 7th fret on the low E string on the B, 7th fret on the D string with your second finger, which is an A, and let's say you could use your little finger on the G string on the 8th fret. So you have those three notes. Now those three notes are particularly important notes in what we're going to be doing, because they define the root, the 7th and the 3rd. Now the other strings we have available here are going to define things like the 9th, the 11th, the 13th, and for the most part anyway, to give us chord flavors that sound really cool. And then we're going to arrange them hopefully in a way that gives us that cascading effect. Now when I talk about cascading, I often think about this sort of effect that you get when you do harmonics. But I want to do that in a chord fashion so that I'm not doing it as harmonics, because the harmonics thing takes a lot of practice, right? And if you're good at it, great. But also there are times when it's hard to create the arrangement of notes that you really want. So what I want to look at, I'm going to start with something very, very simple, and that is an E dominant 7th cascade. I'll just call them a cascade. Now the notes that we're going to choose in each cascade are variable. They're not fixed in stone at all. So when you are putting these together, you have to use your ears, and you have to use some level of logic about how you're going to make it work. There are two particular ways we're going to work on today, but that's just to get you started. Okay, so the first one we'll work on is very, very simple, right? And it's the shape that I described before. We're going to move it up to the E and on the 12th fret. So it'll be first finger on the 12th fret on the E string, low E string. Second finger on the D string on the 12th fret, which is a D, so root, 3rd, and then my little finger is going to be on the 13th fret on the G string. So what really matters here is the order in which we now pick the notes, right? We have the notes to choose from here. We have E, D, G sharp, B, and E, right? Those notes. So what I want to do is to listen to those and put them together in a way that they ascend. So what I'm going to do, right, is I have to have a listen to which notes are higher and lower than the surrounding notes. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play the low E string with my thumb, and you can do this with a pick. It's just going to require a lot of either hybrid picking or really good control of your pick. And you know, if you don't want to do finger style stuff, that's cool, but this is going to take your picking to a whole other level as well, because you'll be jumping around like a madman, and that can only be described as skill building, okay, when it comes to picking. So what I'm going to do, low E string, open B string. Okay, I'm going to now play the D string, which is so I'm going E, B, okay, D. Now next one I'm going to choose is the high open E string, E, and then the G sharp. Now if you listen, I'm going to come back down the same. Now I'm going to take that and I'm going to move my whole shape down one semitone, and I'm going to take my low finger off the E, my first finger off the E string. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to put my third finger down on the A string, which is the 12th fret, and I'm going to do exactly the same. So A, B, C sharp, E, and this is a G. So now, I'm going to continue this progression down by moving down a semitone again and taking my third finger off and putting my first finger back down, this time in the 10th fret. So I have the notes D, B, C, E, and F sharp. The chord I would be playing here would, well, it has D, it has E, so that E is the 9th, okay? I have the dominant 7th, so it's a D7, add 9, and the I have the 3rd here, so that's basically what I have. Okay, now so just to recap, we've done the E7, the A7. I'm just going to refer to them with very simple names because you can really make whatever you want out of these. Now, we're going to get to a point here where we start doubling up on notes. If we move it down a semitone and we do that, put the third finger down, take the first finger off. So we end up here with 2 Bs. Right, so I've got basically G, okay, as my root note, B, so I'm jumping up to the 3rd, then I'm doing it again here. Now that doesn't really make a lot of sense to repeat the note, so I've got to start being creative. So what can I do with that extra B? And the extra B is the one I'm fingering. I want to hold on to the open string and change the other one. So there are a couple of options, right? I can either play a note that is higher than the B, which would be, you know, C or D, because I've got the E as my next note, like already open, ready to go here. So I could make that more like this. Sorry. We'll do like that. So I've gone from this to this. So put it into context, right? The other thing I can do, well, like I said, I could have used the D, so, and that makes it very dominant seventh. So to go from the C to the D. Okay, so maybe that's what I want to do. Move it down, and now here, if I do the same sequence of notes, you can hear it's going all over the place, right? It doesn't work at all. So because, and part of the reason for that is the gap between the first two notes is becoming huge in terms of, I'm almost an octave apart on my first note. Here I am at a C, and my next note is a B, almost an octave up. So you start to run into, let's just say, issues with getting notes above the B down here. That makes sense, but anyway, it's hard to explain. But I think you can hear that you're starting to run into a problem. So we can change to another pattern. Another way of approaching the notes, because all that really matters in these is getting the notes to flow in an ascending and descending order. So it's not about patterns with your fingers or anything like that, even though up until this point the pattern with my fingers has remained fairly consistent. So now we can look at perhaps putting a note in that is lower than the B, and using that before the B. So the B would no longer be the second note. So let's use the A on the D string, which is on the 7th fret. So let's see, we'll start off with the C on the 8th fret on the low A string. The A, I'm using my first finger here. I might change that in a second once I decide what the heck I'm going to do. But so I'm going to use that as the second note. Then the B. So I'm going to need a note that is higher than the B and lower than the E, because it's going to come in between these. Choices, things like the D here, which is on the 7th fret on the G string. So it could look like this. I could also have used, let's say, the C, which down here, and either would have worked. So I actually like the D sound better. So, to recap, I have this. And then, what was it? These two. Yep, and so just to try and get things to flow. They can have a really nice sound. I particularly they sound a little bit harp-like. pick out some pretty cool things. Now I was fiddling around this morning and I sent something to my son to play with, which is which is something that now uses odd timing and has the same but in this one I'm jumping around, right? Instead of making it cascade, which sounds a little bit predictable. And it's a 5/4 timing thing, so in that one I actually benefit from not cascading because I want to focus on those 3 notes here. Sound, and I want I'm using the same sort of thing but breaking away from the cascade to create emphasis on certain notes. So you can really play with it. It's very, like everything, it's completely open-ended and completely at your discretion how you use it. So where you would incorporate it in a piece of music is completely up to you. How you would structure it is completely up to you. It's just that when you cascade the notes, it has a different sound to when you don't cascade the notes. And if you're after that cascade effect, well, that's a great way to create it. And of course the chord types that you use. You can just use your ears, right, and come up with some pretty creative stuff. Now I'm using the open B and E strings a lot throughout this, and the B and the E will take on different personalities depending on what you're placing around them. It's got a lot of scope and can make some extremely interesting sounds to your ear. So have fun with it. Have a play with it, muck about with it, see what you can come up with. Keep it ultra simple and just use your ears to guide you as best you can. You'll probably come up with some results that you'll be fairly impressed with, and yeah, have fun with it. Thanks very much. You take care.